Welcome back to the hotspot happening right here on Morning Dew, only on Daisak TV. My name is Kelvin Mungai, and before we went on break, I did promise you that there were some guests who were coming and we will be looking into matters arising politically or current affairs, what is happening in the political arena. And we do have quite a lot that is happening because it is a campaign season, and politicians are moving all over everywhere in the country, uttering words and saying things against each other, and also making campaign promises, which is basically what we tend to delve into here on Hotspot. But before we get into all that, I would like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves and tell you, well, as much as you are comfortable divulging. Let's start with you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Godfrey, and I'm so happy to be here. And yes, it is our country, it is our politics, it is our responsibility to talk about it and to discuss it in a manner that we find fit for the future of our nation. So I am ready for that. Thank you.
Would you mind telling us what you do for a living?
Godfrey is a criminologist and a security expert by profession.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon Opere. I am a youth, like every youth that you're seeing in the country. I'm also a student pursuing education science. My combination is maths and computer. I have a foundation that I'm actually working on. It's called Nyakarope Research Foundation. I'm also a professional service director in the Rotary Club of Mungai University, and we are really trying as much as possible to do some development in the country in all ways possible. And I'll be glad if we unite together and make sure that our country become our main aim of achievement. Yeah.
Thank you. And finally, last but not in any way least.
Okay. Thank you for hosting me. My name's Kelvin Nganga. I can also go by the name Olenganga. I'm a youth within Township Board, and I like so much talking about my country because we are all youth and we want the best for our country. We are going to discuss matters politics because if we don't engage in politics, they are going to be affecting both our social and political lives. So it is very important for us as youth, we come out and we talk it out so that we can find our way out.
Well, it is interesting because since the inception of Hotspot, every guest that has come here has the same message to preach, that we want peace within our country, and it has mostly been the youth. And I really do hope that come the aftermath of the August 9th elections, peace will prevail. And talking about the elections, let us start with Jeshi la Baba. There's this group of women who have come out within the Azimio camp, and they are aiming to recruit 27.5 million women across the country who will pledge to vote for Honorable Raila Odinga. Is this an achievable goal? Is this something that they can achieve?
I think that there is nothing that cannot be achieved in politics when people do it the right way. The fact that these people are organizing themselves in a specific format means they have something in mind concerning the women of this country. Out of the 10 points that Raila Odinga chooses to be his main focus in the government, this group says that the universal health care is one of their main concerns, that Baba is going to be concerned on the health of women and children. And that's the reason why they are coming up to put together women who are in this country so that they can support Baba. Actually, in marketing, it is saying there is no negative publicity. No matter how much we try to put it out, as long as we are putting it out, then it is benefiting someone. To this effect, then, doing so means a milestone for Baba. I'm not very sure if we will attain the numbers of 27.5 million, but what I'm sure is by so doing means getting some extra vote in the basket.
Yes. Brother Brandon.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that they will achieve the 27.5 million milestone?
Be a big deal. Actually, when you look at their strategies, they're really the actual plan that they have is so amazing. And you know, women really have this loyalty towards Baba so much, and the strategy that the Baba has actually used to bring out the actual people to help him in this plan is so incredible. And you know, one thing that has always fascinated me is these women are really so much into development. I'm not saying that men are not so much into development. I'm saying that these social things like healthcare, there my colleague here said, and education. And you know, women are the people who give birth to children, so they feel this thing at heart burdening them so much. And I'm pretty sure that the moment they've decided that they have to pull out together and go for this, they'll come out strongly. Yeah, and the plan actually says that. You know, I've tried to link up with most of the women. You know, actually, I have a cousin who is vying for the women position back at home, and she has a lot of women supporting her so much, and she actually feels them. You know, and I can attest to you that women are out there supporting her so much more than even the men, and it's now the pressure, the attraction that is now pulling the men back to support her. So I can't say that they won't be able to achieve that if by any chance they just follow the right channel. If by any chance they create this belief to the other people, they're going to do this, and I believe that they are going to do some great work. Yeah.
Well, Bona Kelvin, what are some of the challenges that they will face in their attempting to achieve this, and what consequences will it have if they actually do achieve it?
They can achieve it, but because politics is all about interest. You may find there are women who are around and working around Baba, but their interests may be different. So achieving their target might also be a hard task, because if so and so has this and this interest, because politics is all about interest. Your interest could not be my interest. She could be having a different interest from the other. So if the differences arise, that is when they cannot hit the target. For instance, here in Mount Kenya, there was a move by Mount Kenya leaders, the likes of Moses Kuria, the likes of Mother Karua, and the others. They were intending to push the current population of voters from 5 to 10 million, the current Mount Kenya region. But they were not able to achieve that because the strategies and mechanisms that they put in place, they did not make them reach there. So for Team Azimio to reach there, there have to be proper strategies and the proper distinction of, like, these are the roles of this so and so and so, because generally, if we can be honest enough, women are jealous. In fact, we could be having a women president if all women voted for Mother Karua. But because women are jealous and it is just natural, you can't change it. That's why uniting women and putting them in one basket will be a hard task for them.
Now shifting focus away from the Azimio camp, the Jubilee-led government has had a very, very interesting amount of time in power. They have had 2 terms. In the first term, there was the challenges that they were facing with the opposition, but the first term also gave us the bromance between the president and his deputy. And in the second term, now it seems like what people have been saying, that the opposition became part of the government and the deputy president was kicked out of the government. Now, analyzing the way the economy was during the first term and the second term, which term would you say was better and why?
Which one was better and why? I think since Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto came to power, we have an interesting way of things, and the product and the commodities the price has continually gone up in this country for a considerable amount of time. But of course, I will be asking myself, what do we expect? What is the final product if all we do is keep on going, and if all we do is keep on living out beyond our means? Every other budget in this country, we keep on getting some deficit, and we keep on getting both domestic and foreign loans in order to put the budget together. What then happens if this becomes the order of the day? Obviously, the very small quantity or item in the market, the prices goes up to compensate for everything you're trying to do. This is what has been happening in Uhuru Kenyatta's government. yes, we've been doing. There has been a lot of infrastructure development. That's not disputed. But the fact that continually we've been trying to service our budget by the use of loan means then we have an issue when it comes to the product of a basic thing like the price of unga to the price of cooking oil to the prices of tomatoes and onions. Actually, I have seen the steady growth in price within a considerable short amount of time of these products. From 192 shillings of 1 litre of fresh fry to 320 for every litre. Right now, 2 packets of hunger goes to a point of 130 shillings of Raha Premium. Right now, a kg of onion goes at 120 shillings. I think this implication, or whatever we see in here, is as a result of what have we been doing. We've been borrowing to finance ourselves. And now that we have somebody's yet money, we have to pay. And for us to pay, then we have to incur an extra cost on this other side. I think it has been once for the second term. I really don't know if it's because we did not have an opposition or not, but in the presence of opposition or no opposition, if still we were to borrow, then we were to pay higher.
Bona Brandon, has the rise of the commodities that he has stated with the way the economy is this as a result of the government not having an opposition, or is it something that was inevitable from the very beginning? Actually,
I can say this is something that was inevitable from the very beginning. From the start, there hasn't been an equilibrium of balance when it came to how the government used its finances, and you cannot focus so much on infrastructure and not give your attention on agriculture. By the end of the day, the common wananchi are going to be affected so much, and this is something that the government did not look into deeply when they were working on their budgeting and stuff. And I can say by the end of the day, the common wananchi obviously had to reach out and do 1, 2, 3 things to make sure that they at least live to the normal level rate. Yeah, and actually the common wananchi, I can say there's always something that has always been attached to them. By the end of the day, they have to survive, and I believe that they can also deprive themselves from that level of poverty and get themselves out, and they don't depend so much on the government. The attitude that they're giving the government to such a point that they need the government to at least look into their livelihood, look into how they go to school, look into how they eat, has really altered their mentality. I believe that it reaches a point where you can at least focus on yourself and try to do as much as possible to get yourself out of that zone and just live your own life without depending so much on the government. It's all a matter of changing your mentality, and this is something that youth are really trying to do by coming up with these organizations, these foundations. That's why I had to be inspired so much to come up with my own foundation. It's not just mostly on technology, as innovation stuff, from agriculture, education, health, in all ways possible, so that you can try and improve the life status of everyone. The moment you start focusing our attention to this perspective, we're going to be able so much to criticize the government. Yeah, and the economy of the country, I can say it literally depends on us. Actually, sometimes I kind of feel we shall give the government a lot of burden. At the moment, we have a lot of loans that we have not yet achieved. And these loans are giving us a lot of burden. You're like, we cannot develop, we cannot get from this juncture to another juncture. And the government is like, let me say 20%. Common wananchi are 80%. It will take us around over 20 years for us to maintain this normal rate again. So if we strive so much to get from this mentality and start thinking from our own perspective and try to see how can we improve our life status, from which level of creativity, what should we improve? Is it what should we innovate from agriculture? What should we innovate from education? What should we teach our students? What should we learn? What should we improve? And this is one thing that the common wananchi have really neglected. We really need to start thinking from this perspective, because it is going to change our country together. When you look at a country like, I've tried to research more about Dubai. Dubai was once a very low country, actually. And, the government at that point, I'm pretty sure, it wasn't able to look into this, into their people. And it is actually the same people who managed to change their mentality and decided to change their country. The moment Dubai is something unimaginable. You couldn't relate to Dubai the way it was, let's say, like maybe 50 years ago.
Yeah, so it's all about the mentality of the people on the ground.
I can say that, yeah. And we need to think. Even this government that will just come, we cannot say that it is going to change something big. It will just look for more loans and use these loans to create something. We need to focus on something more important, something like technology. It is going to really change us.
Yes, Bona Kelvin, is the state of the economy as it is right now as a result of a government being unchecked by an opposition?
On one side, I would agree, because I want to agree with my brother Godfrey. The second term of Uhuru Kenyatta has been characterized by engagement with the opposition since the handshake. And since the handshake, there are some developments that have been taking place within the government, and you find that the price of the basic commodities have raised the threshold. He has given a very good example. In the first term, a kg of unga was going around 80 or 70 shillings. There was even a time that when the prices went high, the government had to import maize from Mexico so that the prices could be regulated. So lack of opposition has contributed towards the current status that we have in the economy. Because, for instance, when the economy is going down, it means that money is being used elsewhere for the wrong purposes. For instance, there was money that was borrowed for medicine and other purposes under the KEMSA. The money went lost. But that money was borrowed elsewhere to purpose healthcare. So who is going to pay for that burden? It is we, the citizens, who are paying for it. And I will disagree with my brother here, Brandon, saying that it is the mentality. It is not all about mentality. It is about who is running that government and how he's calling the shots. Because, for instance, if I'm earning 6,000 today, then the prices of the commodities, the expenditure, if you go, you do your budget, you find that you're spending so much on food than you should be spending on other things. The price of electricity is still high. The price of water is still high in some areas. Some areas even don't have water. So it is not all about mentality. It is about the government in place. What is it doing towards its citizen? There was a one time the president was asked the price of bread. I was surprised him saying it was 500 bob. Then I was like, in what country we buy that same bread 500? Then you find the president is not well informed by the people who are running the various ministries. Because as a president, he needs to be aware that a bread goes for 55 shillings or 50 shillings that was there formerly. But because he has not been able to have that opposition that is keeping him in check, telling him, Mr. President, something queer is happening somewhere. Whistleblowing, there has not been anything. In fact, if it was not for the media, we would not have known about issues to do with KEMSA or other government projects that have stalled. But because the opposition joined the government, now we have to agree that they are together. In any case, if any mistake happens, no one will check. And if you check, then you know what has been happening in the country. Maybe you're taken somewhere in the DCI or in the EACC. So that you create that instability has been created by the opposition joining the government.
And indeed, well, talking about the president and the government, when we come back, I think I'll start by giving you the right of reply. It seems like you have something that you want to say to Kelvin. So we'll start off with that, and then we'll look at the story in the headlines of one of the dailies today. That will be happening after this short commercial break. Hello and welcome back to the Morning Dew happening right here on Daisak TV. My name is Kelvin Mungai. This is the Hotspot segment where we basically get to look at whatever is happening in the political arena. I am joined today by this wonderful gentleman, and before we went on break, Kevin seemed to say something that triggered you. So this is your right of reply before we go on to the next topic.
Just from the recap, you know, opposition, no position. By the end of the day, people still have to think at least outside the box a little bit and try to be innovative enough to create something that can sustain them, you know, from whatever it is that they have, other sources. I know the government pretty much plays a big role in their development. It plays a big role in how they do things, and it has to be on check. The opposition has to be there to check them out, so that at least they try to be aggressive enough not to misuse the funds that they're supposed to be using in the common wananchi. You know, we can give that a 10% rating, but still we have a 90% where the people now have to think for themselves a little bit to try and see what is this that I need to come up with. You know, like my friend here. You can come up with your own company, you can come up with your own organization, foundation, you know, and the government is still there, you know, it's there to be on check, to do whatever it is that it can use to help you out. But still you have to focus on something much bigger than that. You have to focus on how you can develop your own company, your own organization to help people around you and to also help yourself. And from when we start thinking from this mentality, I'm pretty sure we are going to do some great job out here. And it's not easy, you know, especially registering the company. You know, it's not easy, especially when you have to start, when you are coming up with your own startup, you have to encounter a lot of struggles. And there's nothing that comes easily. But there's nothing worthy than having your own thing. When you look at people like Elon Musk, they started from zero grounds. And at the moment, they're the world billionaires. They're controlling the world like hell, you know. So I believe that the country still has the potential. We have the people in the country. You know, we have this this desire to do some great things. And I believe that the moment you take this step, we won't be complaining so much. We will be able to at least focus on our development. Yeah. And
still on the topic of economic, which one is better for us as a country? Is it the bottoms-up model, or is it the other one that is being fronted by the Azimio camp? Bona Kelvin.
For me, I think the two policies, we have to scrutinize them. And we would like our politicians to come out clean and tell us. Like, for instance, in Azimio, they are telling us, through their trickle-down, there is going to be having a 6K stimulus package for all homes in Kenya, of which it is a good move, but at the same time, it is encouraging laziness. Because as a young man, if at the end of the month I know I have 6K assured, I can go rent a single room for 2,000, then the 4,000 remaining I can use for my expenses. Our country is not going to grow if we are going to approach issues in that manner, because in trickle down, it is money coming from the government down to the people. But there are a lot of channels and a lot of bureaucracies associated with any money coming from the government. For instance, for you to access the youth fund, you will find people in government offices who are adamant to give you those loans to start a business, because he or she expects a kickback. You do me for this, you do me this, I do you this, so that I can push your agenda toa kitu kidogo. That is a disease we must heal as a country, because for us to grow, those trickle-down approach is not going to work for us. Then the bottom-up approach is a good model, of which I support it at some point, because based on what we are hearing from politicians, they are saying that in the bottom-up, their agenda is now, instead of giving money to government parastatals or government ministries to give to farmers who may be selected using biasness, let us go to the grassroots. Let us find that mama mboga, let us find that man working in the Juakali, in that Juakali sector, let us know what are your needs. Are you in a group? If you are organized in a group, if you are in a boda group, this is the package you are going to share amongst yourselves. Just know how it is going to benefit yourself. It is a good model, but it has to be implemented. The implementation is very important, because if we have a model and we don't have the right mechanisms of implementation, then it will fail. For instance, I have just mentioned about the 6K. I have a grandmother whose the money they're given by the government as a package, I don't know it is how much because I don't ask her, but that money, before it reaches her, it stays for like 3 months. I go to her place, she's like, buy me a sugar, I don't have something, and that money from the government has not yet come. So when they are talking about trickle down and the 6,000, for me it is an impossibility. If the money for the elderly is not reaching them on time, how can we be assured that the 6,000 is going to reach the various homes in Kenya? Then what criteria is going to be used to determine which family should receive 6,000 and which family should not receive? Because we have families who are better off, they don't need the 6,000, but we have other families who need the 6,000. So the criteria and the implementation of both policies is very important, because don't tell us about bottom up, of which it is good, but how are we going to implement it? Which criteria are we going to use, like to identify this farmer has 20 acres of land, he deserves this amount. This has 3 acres of land, he deserves this amount. That is just a conversation that we need our politicians to come out clean and tell us, engage us and tell us that as the use of this country, our bottom approach model is going to be implemented in this and this way. We may disagree or we may agree, but we only disagree to agree.
Bona Godfrey, which is better, bottom up or the trickle down?
I think one of the ways that our politicians have really mastered in Kenyan politics is using some things we do not understand to basically confuse an ordinary person. People will come up with trickle-down economic models and bottom-up economic models simply to get you to vote for them, and in most instances, people will not understand what that one specifically means. For me, I believe that the most basic measure of economic development is checking of units of simple commodities in the market. You will not tell me, I do not agree with the president saying that the economy is growing and that our GDP is growing for the time he has been to power, when the very basic thing that affects a young person in this country is becoming more and more expensive every day. I believe when we use the units, the basic units of day-to-day lives to check our progress, that then can tell us if our economy is progressing or not progressing. Therefore, if you come with your bottom-up model or your trickle-down model, I think whatever I am looking for in these people is, how is this one going to translate to a single unit, a single packet of milk from 50 shillings back to 35 shillings? How is it going to translate to a loaf of bread from currently 60 shillings back to 45 and 50 shillings? But as much as you are telling us about economic models, bottom up, up, down, whatever you call it, at the end of the day, what happens here is that if it does not translate to an ordinary person to mean something to them, then it's just any other word, it's just any other jargon. If Kenyans will be buying bread come next year, when either the deputy president or Raila Odinga or any other persons in power are going to be getting this bread at 70 shillings, up from 60, we'll be getting a kg of sugar from 150 shillings, up from 130 shillings, we'll be getting a packet of milk at 60 shillings, up from 50, then whichever economic model you are proposing is not going to make sense. Actually, as a matter of fact, today if you have 100 shillings, you cannot have breakfast, because a bread goes for 60 and a packet of milk goes for 50. Then you're already short of 10 shillings.
Well, that is quite the interesting opinions there. But now let us turn our attention to the elections. There has been a lot of tension surrounding the August 9th elections, and this is basically because of the way they are shaping up to be. yesterday, a number of EU convoys had a meeting with high government officials, and they basically wanted to know that if there will be a smooth transition of power come the August 9th elections. Now, we know that there may be a smooth transition of power if Honorable Raila Odinga wins. That is because he is currently being supported by the president. But will there be the same thing if the deputy president wins the August 9th elections?
Yes. First of all, I have to say that this is such a bad thing for us as a country that every now and then we have to keep on meeting our development partners, our international development partners, to assure them that we are going to be peaceful during and after our campaigns. I think it is not something very good. The other day, I think the blessing in disguise of Kenyan people is that we forget very fast, because things in Kenyan politics happen every day and at a very very high speed. The other day we had the president in an international media, I think is it France 24 TV, and the same question was asked to him that will you vacate office when 2022 comes? Now, yesterday we had development partners meeting the cabinet secretary for Interior, meeting the cabinet secretary for ICT, meeting the attorney general, and meeting all these powerful government officials for the same question. Actually, the British High Commissioner was so much concerned of the states of businesses that are run by our development partners and how they are going to perform during this period. I think this is, first of all, to start with, is not a very good thing. But getting back to the question, will the president hand over power to his deputy president, whom both of them appear to have an issue with? The Constitution of Kenya in Article 141 basically speaks of how the new president comes into power, and I think in Section 10, subsection 1, it speaks of the whole of the president, the whole of formation and the whole of the functions of the office of the president as stipulated in Schedule 3 of the Constitution. Then there is another act of parliament that was effected during Mungai's time, the Attorney General, in 2012, on transition. In Section 14 of this act, it is the responsibility of the incumbent government to hand over the instrument of power to whoever wins the election. Actually, when the president wins, the president-elect, the chairman of IEBC writes to the Chief Justice and to the President informing them of the results. He does this for two reasons: so that the Chief Justice can prepare themselves for the swearing in, and so that the incumbent President can prepare themselves for transition. The Transition Committee is, of course, chaired by the Secretary to the Cabinet, who happens to be the Head of Public Service, Joseph Kenya. And so the law, according to the laws of Kenya, whether President Kenyatta wants it or not, when his time is done and when his deputy, if his deputy president wins, then it is obligated by the law to give in the sworn and the constitution, which are basically the instruments of power. It doesn't matter your political feeling about it. I was wondering, would we adopt the American style where the Republican or Donald Trump is not so much interested with what is happening with the Democrats, Joe Biden, and then he chooses to walk away on the swearing-in day. According to our laws, the president must be there to add in the instrument of power to the next president. So whether he feels it or not,
whether he likes it or not,
it is his constitutional duty to give in the instrument of power to the next person. Yes.
Oh, that is very, very comprehensive. Thank you very much. Now, we've gotten to a part of the show where I have to make an announcement that I absolutely do not like making, and that is the fact that we have run out of time. But before we finally do actually wrap it all up, I would like to give each one of you a minute for your final submissions into that camera. Basically, talk to the people, talk to your fellow youth, talk to the country. What do you want to see? What do you want for the country? What should we do?
For me, I believe that politics is not a game. I am one person who doesn't believe that politics is a game, and more so a dirty game. It's because we made our politics a game that we usually treat it within the confinements of a game. You win, you lose, we mess up with the process, we call it a game, we go home. Our politics is such a serious concern for the next generations and generations to come. When we call it a game, then what we are doing simply is that we mean when all is said and done, we can forget about that idea and come back after 5 years. The danger of this thing is that there will be no specific break in a period of time when we will say that from this year to this year we will not be having any government in place. So now you people are free to do whatever you want. Every year from now to the next 1,000 years, we'll have a government that will be deciding on international policies, that will be deciding on military policies, that will be deciding on economic policies, that will be deciding on information policies and all other policies that affects government. If then affects the people of Kenya, if then we call this one a game and pray pada potea with it, as some of them call it, then at the end of the day what happens is that we will lose the track of our development and achievement as a nation. I think we ought to take politics seriously. We ought to vote as young people of this country, and we ought to vote for the right people whom we feel that when they get into power, our policies, our relation with foreign communities, and everything else that keeps a nation going shall still be in good progress.
Thank you very much, Bona Godfrey. Bona Brandon.
This is that time when youths will always be used by the politicians, and youths need to be so careful actually when they are out there trying to find some space in the government, in the political government and everything. One thing that youths actually, I want to bet just mostly on youth, because youths are the people who are mostly affected by all these things. By the end of the day, you need to know that you have a future. You need to know that you are the only person who has to take yourself to another level. And like, as much as you have to take part in campaigning, in being used by the politicians, just to know that you also have a life to live. Focus on yourself, focus on whatever it is that you want to do, and make sure that you always live by that. Another thing, politics will always be there, and politics is our right. We need to go out there and support our right leaders, for them to go out there and support us when they're already in. I would like to emphasize on us making the right decision, us doing the right thing, and at least make sure that you do what you feel is just. Don't be swayed out there. It's not good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bona Kelvin.
I would like to speak to the youths in this country and encourage them that we only disagree to agree. In as much as we may have so many differences amongst ourselves as youths, let us unite and show the world that we can only disagree to agree. Because you'll find some people are agreeing with this, others are agreeing with this. Let us not be so much tensed up. Tuweke siasa kwa roho, then we find ourselves in the wrong hands, we are fighting each other, there is no peace. Secondly, I would like to encourage all youths who have not registered as voters to take that responsibility and register as voters, because the only tool that we can have to change our country is that vote. And if we don't participate in voting, then it means we have given way to a bad governance and bad economy and bad everything. So I encourage the youths in this country, let us take the responsibility, because I was reading in one of the newspapers and I found that there is a voter apathy. So many youths are not willing to register as voters. They don't feel the sense of having it, but just because they've been frustrated by the current government or the outgoing government. They need to change that mentality and think, if I have this vote and it is registered somewhere, which vote is going to be beneficial for me? Maybe MCA will benefit you, maybe MP will benefit, or either your governor. The third thing, I would like to encourage our youth, in as much as we are going to be in political places, let us not allow ourselves to be used in the wrong way. Let us not be allowed to distract others' meetings by throwing stones, calling out names, insulting each other. Let us maintain tolerance. Let us have tolerance amongst ourselves And I believe if we maintain tolerance among ourselves, because as the youth, we are very youthful, that's why the politicians want to use that energy wrongly. But if you unite and show the politicians you cannot use us on this and these issues, then I believe we are going to have peace even after election.
Well, thank you very much. That has brought us to the end of the Hotspot segment, but it will be back tomorrow at the same place and the same time. Coming up next is the lifestyle, where we will be talking about the family and how the family unit affects the country at large.